Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take source material, jump right in, and really pull out the key insights for you, trying to get you well-informed fast. So today, we're looking at spirituality and health. Specifically, we're digging into one source, an article from familydoctor.org. It's called Spirituality and Health, and it was reviewed by a doctor from the American Academy of Family Physicians.
Right, a focused look.
Exactly. Our mission here is to unpack what this article says spirituality is, how it suggests it might connect to health, what practical steps it offers, and also what it says about maybe talking this over with your doctor. It's all about this specific viewpoint.
And the article gets straight to it, starts right off with the definition of spirituality.
It does, and I thought it was, well, pretty interesting how they defined it. Not just one thing. It says spirituality is, and I'm quoting here, the way you find meaning, hope, comfort, and inner peace in your life. But what really jumped out was how broad they make that. They specifically say it's not only through religion. They mention things like music, art, connecting with nature, or even just, your basic values and principles.
And that's key, that broad definition right up front. It sort of signals how they're going to approach the whole topic. It's framing spirituality as more than just religious practice. It's this personal search for meaning, for calm, which can look really different for different people. And that really sets the table for how they talk about health.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that connection then. How does this article suggest that this, broader idea of spirituality relates to health? That seems like the big question.
Well, they start off quite cautiously, actually. The language is careful. It says, no one really knows for sure how spirituality is related to health.
Huh. Okay, so they admit uncertainty.
They do. But then they offer their perspective. They say it seems the body, mind, and spirit are connected. And the idea is that the health of one affects the others. They're not separate things, they're intertwined.
Right, like a whole system. And they mentioned some research too, don't they? Something about studies showing a link between beliefs and well-being.
Exactly. They reference that connection, that some research shows a connection between your beliefs and your sense of well-being. And then the article sort of speculates on how that might work. It suggests that, positive beliefs, the comfort or strength you might get from religion or meditation or prayer, that these things can contribute to well-being.
Okay.
They even say it may even promote healing, which is, a fairly strong statement, even went with the may.
Right, that may is doing some heavy lifting there. So if we boil down what the article is saying about the health link, the main point seems to be it may not cure an illness. That's an important caveat they make.
Crucial point.
But it may help you feel better and maybe prevent some health problems or just help you cope better with illness, stress, or even death.
Yes, I think that's the sort of practical takeaway from the source on this health connection. It's really framed around coping, feeling better, that overall sense of well-being, rather than, say, a direct medical treatment.
Okay, that makes sense. So if this resonates with you, if you're thinking, okay, maybe I want to explore this, the article does move into practical ideas. It has a section called Path to Improved Health. And they start off with a really good reminder, I thought. Basically, everyone is different. Do what is comfortable for you, which fits their broad definition.
Absolutely. And the core actions they suggest, it really comes down to two main steps.
Which are?
First, identify the things in your life that give you a sense of inner peace, comfort, strength, love, and connection. So basically figure out what spirituality actually means for you personally.
Right, personalize it.
Then second, set aside time every day to do the things that help you spiritually. So there's an emphasis on intentionality. Not just knowing what works, but actually, building it into your routine.
And the examples they list for what to do really show that breadth we talked about. It's things like, community service, volunteering,
Praying, meditating.
singing devotional songs, reading inspirational books, taking walks in nature,
Yeah, also quiet time just for thinking, doing yoga.
playing a sport. That one surprised me a bit, on the same list as prayer.
Right. Or attending religious services. It's a real mix.
It really highlights how they see spirituality, something personal, found in lots of different activities.
And like you said, the key is finding your activity or activities and then consciously making space for them regularly.
Okay. Now, shifting gears a little, the article also talks about something pretty practical, especially if you're dealing with health issues, and that's bringing spirituality into the conversation with your doctor.
Yes, that's a really important section, I think. The source recommends that if you're being treated for an illness, you should consider sharing your spiritual beliefs with him or her.
Okay, but why do they suggest that? I mean, it can feel quite personal to bring up in a clinic appointment. What's their reasoning?
The reason they give is pretty straightforward. Your spirituality might affect your feelings and thoughts about your medical situation. It's basically about giving your doctor the full picture of what's influencing your experience and maybe your decisions.
Ah, okay, so it's about context.
Exactly. And that leads to what is probably the most critical piece of advice in this whole section. The source really stresses you should always tell your doctor if your spirituality is affecting your healthcare decisions or is preventing you from following his or her recommendations.
Okay, that sounds crucial. Like a non-negotiable for safety and effective treatment.
Absolutely. It frames it that way. For clarity and to avoid any conflicts with the medical plan.
And they also mention when you might actually see a doctor about spiritual issues themselves, right?
Yes, they do. They say if your spiritual beliefs or worries or concerns are causing you stress, then talk with your family doctor. And if your doctor can't help directly, they might know someone who can, like a counselor or clergy, perhaps.
And just to make it easier for anyone who feels maybe awkward bringing it up, the article gives specific questions you could ask, like, can my spiritual or religious beliefs impact my health? And is it important for me to share with you my spiritual or religious beliefs? Kind of gives you an opening.
Yeah, it's very practical guidance. It's not telling anyone what they should believe. It's more about how you might navigate integrating this personal aspect of your life with your medical care, mainly for good communication and making sure everyone's on the same page regarding treatment.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive into the familydoctor.org article, Spirituality and Health. We saw how it defines spirituality quite broadly, finding that meaning, hope, comfort, peace, wherever that works for you, not just religion.
Right.
We looked at its view on the health connection, cautious, admitting uncertainty, but suggesting it may help you cope, feel better, possibly prevent some issues, even if it's not a cure.
The coping and well-being aspect.
Then the practical side. Figure out what works for you spiritually and make time for it daily. Lots of examples given.
That intentionality piece.
And finally, the guidance on talking to your doctor. Consider sharing your beliefs. Definitely tell them if it affects your decisions. And know you can ask for help if spiritual concerns are causing stress. And just to reiterate, this was our look specifically at the perspective in this one article.
Right. And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. How did this article's viewpoint, this idea that finding meaning, hope, comfort, peace through all these different ways can connect to your well-being and how you cope, how does that resonate with your own understanding of health? And, how might that shape how you think about or discuss these things yourself? Something to consider.